The importance of how to stop worrying and start living. Worry is one of the most universal human struggles. It robs us of sleep, drains our energy, clouds our judgment, and steals the joy from our days. It keeps us awake at night replaying past mistakes, imagining worst-case scenarios, and doubting our ability to handle tomorrow. Left unchecked, worry can shorten our lives, ruin our health, and weaken our relationships. Yet, despite how common it is, many people go through life believing they simply have to live with worry. Dale Carnegie disagreed. He believed worry is not inevitable, it is something we can understand, manage, and eventually overcome. That belief became the driving force behind his book How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. First published in 1948, just as How to Win Friends and Influence People offered practical wisdom for building relationships. This book provides practical tools for conquering worry and living with greater peace, clarity, and joy. Why should the average reader care about this book? Because worry is not just an occasional nuisance, it is a silent thief. Studies today confirm what Carnegie observed long ago. Constant worry increases stress hormones, damages the immune system, and contributes to conditions like heart disease, ulcers, and depression. But beyond physical health, worry keeps us from living fully. It paralyzes decision-making. It prevents us from enjoying the present. It makes us prisoners of what if. Carnegie's book is a roadmap to freedom. Unlike many self-help books that drown readers in abstract theory or vague encouragement, Carnegie's style is refreshingly practical. He doesn't tell you to simply stop worrying, as if it were a switch you could flip. Instead, he breaks the problem into manageable parts and offers step-by-step strategies. He draws on psychology, real-life stories, and his own experiences to show how ordinary people, businessmen, housewives, students, soldiers, learn to manage worry and reclaim their lives. That makes the book relatable across generations and backgrounds. Another reason this book matters so much is that it speaks directly to our time. When Carnegie first wrote it, people were recovering from World War II and living with constant uncertainty. Today, though the world looks different, uncertainty is still everywhere. Economic changes, global crises, health concerns, and personal challenges. Technology has added new sources of worry, constant notifications, social comparison, and information overload. If anything, modern life gives us more reasons to worry than ever before. Yet Carnegie's wisdom remains timeless, because it addresses the root of the problem: how we think, how we frame challenges, and how we use our mental energy. What sets this book apart is its balance of realism and optimism. Carnegie does not deny that life is full of hardship. He acknowledges that everyone faces problems, failures, and disappointments, but he insists that we have a choice in how we respond. Worry, he explains, is often a misuse of imagination. Instead of preparing us, it traps us. Instead of solving problems, it magnifies them. His goal is not to eliminate challenges from life, but to give us tools to face them with strength, calmness, and confidence. Another striking aspect of this book is how it encourages us to live in the present moment. Long before mindfulness became a popular buzzword, Carnegie urged readers to stop being consumed by the past or the future and to focus on today. He called it living in day-tight compartments, building mental walls so that yesterday cannot spill into today, and tomorrow cannot flood into now. That simple shift in perspective can dramatically reduce worry, and it remains one of the most powerful ideas from the book. Reading How to Stop Worrying and Start Living is not just about managing stress, it is about reclaiming life itself. It teaches us how to break the cycle of overthinking, handle criticism without being crushed by it, accept what cannot be changed and focus on what can, keep busy with meaningful work instead of destructive worry, cultivate attitudes of gratitude and resilience. In essence, this book is an antidote to one of the greatest obstacles to happiness. It offers not empty inspiration but practical wisdom, tested by real people. Across decades, in situations far tougher than most of us will face. If you have ever lost sleep replaying mistakes, if you've ever been paralyzed by what if you've ever let fear of the future ruin the joy of the present, this book is for you. It is a guide not only to stop worrying but to start living, to truly embrace life with energy, purpose, and peace. Who is Dale Carnegie? To appreciate how to stop worrying and start living, It helps to understand the man behind the words. Dale Carnegie was not a philosopher tucked away in an ivory tower, nor a psychologist studying people only from a distance. He was a teacher, a communicator, and most of all, a lifelong student of human nature. His life story is as practical and grounded as the lessons in his books, which is why his writings continue to resonate across generations. Born in 1888 in Maryville, Missouri, Carnegie grew up on a poor farm. His childhood was filled with hard work and modest living, but what he lacked in material wealth, he made up for with curiosity and determination. In school, he discovered a talent for public speaking, a skill that would later define his career. While many people feared standing in front of an audience, Carnegie thrived on it. He realized that words had the power to move hearts and open doors. After graduating from college, Carnegie tried his hand at various careers: salesman, actor, writer. He wasn't immediately successful. In fact, he struggled often, living in cheap housing, dealing with failure, and doubting his path. Yet these struggles gave him a deep understanding of worry. He knew what it was like to feel uncertain about the future, to wrestle with fear of failure, and to carry the weight of self-doubt. Eventually, Carnegie began teaching public speaking at the YMCA in New York. His classes quickly grew popular, not because he lectured endlessly, but because he connected with people. He encouraged, he listened, he inspired. His focus wasn't on showing how clever he was, it was on helping others believe in themselves. Out of these classes came his first major book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 1936, which became an instant classic. But Carnegie wasn't finished. He saw another universal struggle that weighed people down: worry. In conversations with students, business professionals, and everyday workers, he kept hearing the same theme. People weren't just anxious about speeches, they were anxious about life. They worried about mistakes, about the future, about criticism, about failure. Some even admitted that worry was destroying their health and happiness. Carnegie took this seriously. He began researching the subject of worry with the same dedication he had given to human relationships. He read psychology, philosophy, and medical reports. He interviewed people from all walks of life. Most importantly, he collected stories, real accounts of how ordinary men and women overcame worry in extraordinary ways. His goal was never to offer abstract theories but to provide usable tools. When How to Stop Worrying and Start Living was published in 1948, it was immediately embraced by readers recovering from the chaos of World War II. But the wisdom inside wasn't bound to that era, it applied to anyone, anywhere, facing the universal burden of worry. Carnegie wrote not as a distant authority but as a companion who had walked the same road. His own battles with insecurity and setbacks made him relatable. His warmth and humility made him trustworthy. Carnegie's philosophy was simple yet profound. Life is too short to be wasted on worry. Instead of being trapped by fear, people could learn to live with courage, presence, and gratitude. He didn't promise a life free of problems, but he showed that by changing our mindset, we could change our experience of those problems. What makes Carnegie especially remarkable is that he lived what he taught. By all accounts, he was a man of warmth, generosity, and genuine interest in others. He didn't preach about worry while living a life of ease. He wrestled with it, studied it, and shared what worked. That authenticity is part of why his books still feel alive today. Carnegie passed away in 1955, but his influence has only grown. The Dale Carnegie Institute continues to teach his principles worldwide, training millions of people in communication, leadership, and personal development. His legacy is not just in the millions of copies sold, but in the countless lives transformed, people who learned to build relationships, conquer worry, and step into life with more confidence. When you read How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, you're not just absorbing tips from a self-help manual. You're listening to the voice of a man who devoted his life to helping others overcome their deepest struggles. Carnegie's gift was not just knowledge, it was empathy. He understood that beneath our ambitions and dreams lies a common desire to live without fear, to live with peace, and to live fully. That is who Dale Carnegie was, a farmer's son who became a global teacher, a man who turned his own struggles into wisdom for the world, and an author whose insights into worry remain as practical and powerful today as they were nearly 80 years ago. The purpose of how to stop worrying and start living. Every book begins with a need. For Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living was born out of his recognition that worry was one of the greatest silent destroyers of human life. He had spent decades teaching communication and public speaking. But behind every trembling voice and nervous glance, he noticed something deeper: fear. Not just fear of public speaking, but fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the future. Carnegie realized that worry is a universal problem. It doesn't matter if you're a businessman trying to meet a deadline, a student preparing for exams, a parent raising children, or someone facing financial hardship. Worry is always nearby. It creeps into our thoughts, drains our energy, and magnifies our challenges. He saw how worry caused illness, ruined careers, and even destroyed families. The purpose of this book, then, was to offer a practical cure for this universal disease. Carnegie wanted to give people a way to break free from the cycle of worry so they could reclaim their lives. His message was not, "Life will be easy if you follow these steps." Rather, it was, "Life will always be full of challenges, but you don't have to let worry defeat you." His purpose was empowerment, to help ordinary people handle extraordinary pressures with calmness and courage. One of the biggest problems Carnegie wanted to address was the waste of mental energy that worry creates. He noticed that people often spend more time imagining problems than solving them. A businessman might spend hours fretting over a potential loss, while never taking action to prevent it. A student might spend days worrying about failing an exam, when that time could have been spent studying. Worry, in this sense, is unproductive. It drains us without giving anything back. Carnegie's aim was to redirect that energy into constructive action. Another issue he wanted to tackle was paralysis by analysis, the way worry makes us hesitate, procrastinate, and avoid decisions. He observed that the happiest and most effective people are those who act decisively. They gather the facts, make a choice, and then move forward without second-guessing themselves endlessly. Carnegie's book provides tools for reaching decisions quickly and confidently, which reduces the mental clutter that fuels worry. But perhaps the deepest purpose of the book was to help people rediscover the joy of living. Carnegie saw how worry robs people of the present moment. We rehash yesterday's mistakes. We dread tomorrow's uncertainties. In doing so, we miss the beauty of today. To counter this, he introduced the idea of living in day-tight compartments, treating each day as a self-contained unit, focusing on what can be done now instead of what might go wrong later. This simple practice, he believed, could transform lives. Carnegie also recognized that worry is often rooted in our need for control. We want certainty, we want guarantees, but life rarely gives us either. His purpose, then, was to help readers learn acceptance, to focus on what can be controlled and let go of what cannot. By accepting uncertainty and learning to live with it, we free ourselves from much unnecessary suffering. What makes this book unique is that Carnegie didn't just want to help people cope with worry, he wanted to help them grow through it. He encouraged readers to turn worry into a teacher, to use challenges as opportunities for strength, resilience, and gratitude. In this sense, his book isn't just about removing worry, it's about replacing it with purpose and vitality. At a time when the world had just endured World War II and people were trying to rebuild their lives, this message was both timely and timeless. And even now, in an age of constant stress, global uncertainty, and information overload, the purpose of this book is just as urgent. It teaches us that no matter the external chaos, peace is possible if we master our internal world. So if we ask, what did Dale Carnegie want to achieve with this book? The answer is simple but profound. He wanted to liberate people from the prison of worry, so they could live fully, act boldly, and enjoy life in the present moment. He wanted to show that life is too precious to be wasted on fear, and that each of us has the power to choose peace over panic, action over paralysis, and gratitude over gloom. The key lessons from How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Dale Carnegie didn't just tell people to stop worrying. He gave them a toolbox of principles, methods, and mindsets that can be applied in real life. His book is filled with dozens of stories and examples, but we can summarize the key lessons into several powerful themes. Part 1. Fundamental facts you should know about worry. 1. Live in day-tight compartments. Carnegie borrowed this concept from engineers who designed ships with watertight compartments. If one section floods, it can be sealed off to prevent the whole ship from sinking. He argued that we should live the same way, focus on today, without letting yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's fears overwhelm us. Right finger example. Instead of worrying about whether you'll succeed in your career 10 years from now, focus on doing today's tasks well. Tomorrow will take care of itself. 2. Remember the law of averages. Most of the things we worry about never happen. Carnegie pointed out that the law of averages is often in our favor. Instead of wasting energy imagining the worst-case scenario, recognize that it's probably not going to occur. 3. Accept the inevitable. If something truly cannot be changed, worrying about it is useless. The key is to accept reality and move forward. Carnegie told the story of an oil executive who faced a huge financial loss. Instead of panicking, he calmly asked, "What's the worst that can happen?" Once he accepted it, he found the courage to rebuild. Part 2. Basic techniques in analyzing worry. 4. Get the facts. Worry thrives in uncertainty. When problems feel vague, our minds exaggerate them. Carnegie advised gathering all the facts before making any conclusions. 5. Analyze the facts. Once you have the information, weigh it rationally. Ask, what are the actual risks? What is the real impact? 6. Make a decision and act. Indecision is one of the biggest fuel sources of worry. Carnegie's method. Ask, what's the worst that can happen? Prepare to accept it if necessary. Then calmly work to improve the situation. This formula turns worry into problem solving. Part 3. Break the worry habit before it breaks you. 7. Keep busy. Idleness gives worry room to grow. Carnegie observed that people who stay engaged, whether through work, hobbies, or service, have less time to dwell on their troubles. Right finger example. A widow grieving her husband found healing not by sitting at home, but by volunteering at hospitals. Serving others kept her from drowning in worry. 8. Don't let little things upset you. Many worries are about trivial matters, traffic, delays, small slights. Carnegie warned against letting gnats ruin your day. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? If not, let it go. 9. Don't saw sawdust. This colorful phrase means don't relive the past. Sawdust is what's left after wood is cut. You can't saw it again. Likewise, you can't undo what's already done. Learn from the past, yes, but don't live in it. Part 4. 7 ways to cultivate a mental attitude that will bring you peace and happiness. 10. Fill your mind with thoughts of peace, courage, health, and hope. Negative thoughts attract more negativity. Carnegie urged readers to practice positive thinking long before it became popular. Focus your mind on uplifting ideas, and your emotional state follows. 11. Never try to get even with your enemies. Carnegie quoted Marcus Aurelius, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." Hatred and resentment hurt you more than your enemy. Forgive, let go, and free yourself from bitterness. 12. Count your blessings, not your troubles. Instead of obsessing over what you lack, focus on what you have. Gratitude is one of the strongest antidotes to worry. 13. Create happiness for others. Ironically, the fastest way to lift your own spirits is to help someone else. Carnegie shared countless stories of people who found joy by giving kindness. 14. Don't imitate others. Much worry comes from comparing ourselves to others. Carnegie insisted that we are all unique, so live your own life, instead of trying to copy someone else's path. 15. Expect ingratitude. This may sound cynical, but it's liberating. Many people won't thank you for what you do. If you expect gratitude, you set yourself up for disappointment. Instead, do good because it's right, not because you crave recognition. 16. Rest before you get tired. Carnegie highlighted the link between physical exhaustion and worry. Fatigue makes problems feel worse. He urged people to rest often, take breaks, and care for their bodies. Part 5. The perfect way to conquer worry, prayer and faith. Carnegie recognized that many people find peace through spirituality, whether one is religious or not. He argued that connecting to something larger than ourselves helps reduce worry. Prayer, meditation, or reflection can shift perspective and bring calm. Part 6. How to keep from worrying about criticism. 17. Remember that unjust criticism is often a disguised compliment. If people criticize you unfairly, it usually means you're doing something that matters. Don't take it too personally. 18. Do the best you can. And let criticism roll off. Instead of trying to please everyone, focus on living with integrity. Critics will always exist, but their opinion doesn't define your worth. Part 7. 6 Ways to Prevent Fatigue and Worry. Carnegie devoted a section to physical well-being because he understood the mind-body connection. His advice included resting before exhaustion hits, learning to relax at work by pausing, stretching, breathing, organizing your tasks to avoid chaos, slowing down instead of rushing everywhere, avoiding emotional fatigue by forgiving, forgetting, and letting go, recharging through joy, hobbies, and sleep. The central lesson. Across all these principles, one theme emerges. Worry does not solve problems, action does. Live one day at a time. Accept what you cannot change. Take constructive steps toward what you can. Fill your mind with gratitude and service, instead of fear and resentment. Carnegie's book is not about eliminating challenges, it's about eliminating the destructive habit of worrying about them. Life is too short to waste on fear. How to apply the lessons in real life. Reading about worry is one thing. Actually freeing yourself from it is another. Dale Carnegie knew that simply knowing his principles wasn't enough. To truly stop worrying and start living, we must practice them until they become habits. Here are practical ways to apply his lessons in daily life. 1. Practice day-tight compartment living. Every morning, remind yourself, today is the only day I need to live. Write it on a sticky note. Set it as a phone reminder. Or say it aloud. Right finger action step. When your mind starts wandering to tomorrow's problems or yesterday's regrets, gently bring it back to today. Ask, what can I do right now? 2. Use the what's the worst that can happen formula. Carnegie's 3-step method is a lifesaver. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Prepare to accept it if it happens. Then calmly work to improve it. Right finger example. If you fear a presentation, the worst might be stumbling on words. Accept that possibility. Then prepare, practice more. Bring notes. Breathe. Once you accept the worst, the fear loses its grip. 3. Schedule worry time. Instead of letting worry consume the whole day, schedule 15 minutes daily to write down your worries. After that, close the notebook and move on. This trains your mind not to dwell endlessly. 4. Apply the facts, analysis, decision method. Gather all the facts. Analyze them objectively. Make a decision. Act on it. Right finger action step. When you feel paralyzed by indecision, write down the facts on paper. Seeing them clearly reduces the fog of worry. 5. Keep busy with purposeful action. An idle mind feeds worry. Keep yourself engaged in work, hobbies, service, or exercise. Right finger try this. Make a daily to-do list of at least 3 meaningful tasks. Crossing them off gives you momentum and leaves less room for worry. 6. Use gratitude as an antidote. Worry thrives on what's missing. Gratitude thrives on what's present. Right finger daily exercise. Each night, write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Over time, this trains your brain to notice blessings instead of problems. 7. Stop reliving the past. When you catch yourself replaying mistakes, say aloud, "Don't saw sawdust." Then redirect your focus to something constructive. Right finger action step. Replace, "If only I had," with, "Next time I will." This turns regret into growth. 8. Manage criticism wisely. When criticized, pause before reacting. Ask, is there truth in this? Can I learn from it? If yes, improve. If no, let it go. Right finger daily mantra. Unjust criticism is often a disguised compliment. Repeat it whenever you feel stung by unfair comments. 9. Care for your body to care for your mind. Exhaustion magnifies worry. Carnegie insisted on physical rest. Right finger checklist for energy. Sleep 7 to 8 hours. Take short breaks at work. Breathe deeply during stress. Move your body daily, even a walk helps. 10. Create a worry journal. Write down your recurring worries, the worst case scenarios, and the outcomes. Over time, you'll see how rarely the worst actually happens. This builds confidence. 11. Use service as medicine. When worry consumes you, shift focus outward. Help someone else. Write a kind message. Cook for a loved one. Volunteer. Right finger daily goal. Do at least one act of kindness each day. It pulls you out of self-centered worry and fills you with purpose. 12. Build rest into your routine. Don't wait until you're burned out. Schedule small breaks. Take a 10-minute walk. Drink tea without your phone. Rest is not laziness, it's recharging your ability to live without worry. A simple daily practice plan. Here's a 5-step daily practice inspired by Carnegie. Morning reset. Say, today is my day tight compartment. Midday pause. Ask, what's the worst that can happen? Have I accepted it? Evening reflection. Write 3 things you're grateful for. Service moment. Do one kind act. Rest habit. End the day with relaxation instead of worry, reading. Prayer, journaling, meditation. Follow this daily, and worry will slowly lose its power over your life. Real-life illustrations of Carnegie's principles. What makes How to Stop Worrying and Start Living so enduring is not just its advice, but the countless real stories Carnegie collected to show how ordinary people overcame extraordinary worries. These stories make the principles feel alive and remind us that we're not alone. Let's explore some examples, both from Carnegie's time and our own. Living in day-tight compartments. Carnegie often told the story of Sir William Osler, one of the most influential doctors in history. Osler once explained that he managed the enormous pressures of his work by living in day-tight compartments. He focused on today, instead of letting yesterday's failures or tomorrow's uncertainties overwhelm him. This mindset helped him rise to the top of the medical field without being consumed by stress. In modern life, think of an athlete. A tennis player cannot afford to dwell on the last missed shot or fear the next point. They must focus on this serve, this rally, this moment. That's how champions and peaceful people live. The power of accepting the worst. Carnegie loved to share the story of Willis H. Carrier, the engineer who invented modern air conditioning. Early in his career, Carrier faced a disaster. His system malfunctioned, and his company risked losing a fortune. Instead of panicking, Carrier asked himself, what's the worst that can happen? He realized the company might lose $20. He accepted that outcome. Then, free of paralyzing fear, he calmly worked on a solution and reduced the loss to just $5. This illustrates a universal truth. Once we accept the worst, worry loosens its grip, and our minds are free to find solutions. Keeping busy to avoid worry. A widow once shared with Carnegie that after her husband died, she was drowning in grief and worry. She found healing not by sitting alone, but by volunteering at hospitals and helping others. Keeping busy with meaningful work gave her life new purpose and kept her from sinking into endless sorrow. Today, psychologists confirm this. Activity, especially helping others, reduces anxiety and depression. When we stay busy with purpose, we leave less space for destructive thoughts. Turning criticism into growth. Carnegie himself faced harsh criticism when he first began teaching. Some students mocked his methods. Instead of collapsing under criticism, he reminded himself of his own principle. Unjust criticism often hides a compliment. It means you're making an impact. Over time, his methods gained recognition, and his critics faded into the background. A modern example is J.K. Rowling, who received dozens of rejection letters before Harry Potter was published. Instead of letting criticism paralyze her, she used it as fuel. The world would never have known Harry Potter if she had let worry about rejection stop her. Gratitude over worry. Carnegie told of a man who lost everything in the Great Depression. Instead of giving in to despair, he listed what he still had: his health, his family, his ability to work. By focusing on gratitude instead of loss, he found the strength to start again. We see this same spirit today when disaster survivors, after floods, fires, or earthquakes, say, "We lost our home, but thank God we are alive." Gratitude doesn't erase problems, but it gives us the resilience to face them. Rest before you're tired. Carnegie recounted how U.S. Army General Dwight D. Eisenhower managed stress during World War II. Eisenhower carried the weight of the entire Allied invasion on his shoulders. Yet he deliberately took time to rest, play cards, and laugh with his staff. He understood that rest was not weakness, it was a weapon against exhaustion and poor judgment. Likewise, in today's high-stress workplaces, leaders like Arianna Huffington advocate for sleep and rest as essential tools for productivity. It's a principle Carnegie was teaching decades earlier. Helping others to heal yourself. One of Carnegie's most moving stories was of a woman who was consumed by worry after her child died. She found herself sinking deeper into despair, until she began working with children at an orphanage. Helping those children brought light back into her life. Service, she discovered, was the best medicine for worry. This truth is timeless. Even today, therapists often recommend volunteering as part of healing from anxiety or depression. Shifting focus outward reduces the endless cycle of inward worry. Why these stories matter? These illustrations show us that Carnegie's advice is not abstract, it works in the real world. Whether it's an engineer saving his company, a widow finding purpose, or a leader carrying the weight of war, the principles remain the same. Accept what you can't change. Focus on today. Keep busy with purpose. Turn worry into gratitude and service. Rest, reflect, and move forward. The faces and contexts may change, but the struggles are timeless, and so are the solutions. The final takeaway and inspirational message. When you close the last page of How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, you don't just carry away a list of principles, you carry away a new way of looking at life. Dale Carnegie's message is simple yet profound. Worry wastes life. It steals time, energy, and joy, and gives nothing in return. But with awareness and practice, we can break free from its grip and live with peace, purpose, and courage. At its heart, this book is a call to live fully. It reminds us that life is too short to be paralyzed by what ifs. Instead of letting yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's fears ruin today, we can choose to live in day-tight compartments. Instead of endlessly imagining disasters, we can ask, what's the worst that can happen? And then calmly prepare to meet it. Instead of dwelling on problems, we can fill our minds with gratitude, action, and service. The final lesson is that worry does not solve problems, action does. If you're worried about failure, act anyway. If you're worried about mistakes, learn from them and move forward. If you're worried about the future, do what you can today. Every time we shift from fear to action, worry loses its power. But Carnegie's wisdom goes even deeper than problem solving. He teaches us that life is not meant to be endured, it is meant to be enjoyed. And enjoyment comes not from eliminating all challenges, but from learning to carry them with grace. Peace does not mean the absence of storms. It means the ability to stay calm in the middle of them. Think about it. When you look back on your life years from now, will you remember the worries that kept you awake at night? Probably not. You will remember the moments you truly lived, moments of love, laughter, work well done, kindness given, and courage shown. Worry only robs us of those moments. Carnegie's message is timeless because it appeals to something universal in us all. We all want peace of mind. We all want to feel free. We all want to live with joy instead of fear. And he shows us that this is not a gift reserved for the lucky. It is a skill we can learn, a habit we can practice, and a choice we can make. So here is the final call to action. Don't just read these principles, practice them. Live one day at a time. Accept what cannot be changed. Act boldly where you can. Rest before you're tired. Serve others to lift yourself. Fill your heart with gratitude. If you do these things, not perfectly, but consistently, you will find that worry fades, and life shines more brightly. And remember, life is short. None of us know how many days we are given. Don't waste another one in worry. As Carnegie himself would say, shut the iron doors on the past and the future. Live in day-tight compartments. And start living, today.